I am as well because draft is ready. So without further ado, let's just hop straight into draft. And let's see what the players will actually bring out. The first bands already coming through. We have Zephyr's and the Joker band out. Quite an interesting band because looking through the charts here, usually you see Superman getting banned out. That is one of the more common bands because of how so strong this particular hero is. Murad getting picked up.
Exactly. Murad, Naprath has also been one of the banned heroes based from the stats that we've seen, but it's actually pretty interesting how different teams have different priorities this time around. I believe, Malok is also a popular pick, and Seniel as well, in terms of first rotations, but they decide to just get the Slims for themselves and the Omar.
Yep, once again we are seeing a very ADC prioritized game coming up from the side of Potatoes. Omar, a very strong pick. Lindis and Crash will be locked in for the side of Serial Killers. Lubu, and what do you think Killer Guy would actually go for? Because at this point in time, if they are going to play for the CC and just the side of our Serial Killers have just got so much crowd control with Pinak on that Crash, and especially the early game of Murad, and I'm not wrong whatsoever, they are going in for that lane to just try to curb the aggression coming through that may just come through from Serial Killers.
Exactly. I'm actually looking for a Malok here, but it looks like their mid laner here. Maybe if they lock in this Raz, it's going to be effective. Seniel as well. I'm not quite sure what's going to be the last pick. It's a very interesting composition for the side of Potatoes. But Illumia, if they lock this in, it's actually an interesting pick once again.
Well, if you are going to ask me, I would say the side of Potatoes, they will, and yet for the 2 times that he's been picked out, it just doesn't seem to be all that impactful in that game, and they could have settled for another hero which can actually put more impact. So I'm looking forward as to what Serial Killers will bring to the table with this Seniel especially, and see if they will actually play this right. Like you mentioned, Seniel very reliant on the macro plays and taking advantage of those 4v5s, and let's just see if that will happen in this game. They will be going in not for the invade, but a more passive play.
Exactly. I'm really liking this Murad pick though. You can definitely take advantage of that level 4 spike. Definitely threatening, and there's a lot of heroes that could finish off the kill. That could either be the Crash, either be the Lindis. It could be either from any of those heroes that I mentioned, and you gotta be afraid of how bursty once Murad lands his full combo on either maybe a three-man temporal turbulence or whatsoever, and it's just gonna be very painful considering the fact that they have an Illumia that does have Flicker, but just take note that that's the only mobile skill or talent that the Illumia has, so definitely something that they should be wary of, because a lot of heroes that could potentially outplay you in terms of dive and mobility. Murad and Raz making his way down towards the bot side of the map.
Yep, and a fight may just break out, just putting on so much pressure on Naga Batman. It doesn't quite suit the name, does it? I mean, playing on that Lubu pickup rather than Batman per se. But anyways, in this mid lane, something may just be happening, but Nephew Rio. Okay, that's one thing I have to learn to pronounce. Maybe I'll contact the player later to figure out how it should be pronounced, because now Abyssal Dragon is getting taken per se, or just trying to get poked around by both teams. And one important thing that we failed to mention earlier on is that Naga Batman in this game plays alone in the lane for the Abyssal Dragon, and that is rarely seen, because usually what you'll see would be 2 guys down at the bot lane, especially when it's the AD lane, because it's not in reverse. So it should be it's actually in reverse anyways. Sorry, that's me just messing up right there. But earlier on we saw Naga Batman just holding the lane alone against that of Lindis and Crash, so they could have easily taken advantage of that, since they have a Murad that can actually roam around. Unfortunately, the first blood is not given over to Serial Killers, and they are playing really passive at this point.
Exactly. Serial Killers and Potatoes are playing safely. Murad already did an attempt once he reached his level 4 spike, tried to make a pick off on towards the slings, but it didn't work. Abyssal Dragon attempt as well, didn't work. So they're really playing passively, they're really playing safely at this point. But they not being able to do the roams because there's 4 people there. Again, Seniel has his ultimate, so he can make his way down.
Ooh, Illumia with that ultimate as well as Crash may not, because a full-blown team fight will be happening right now. But Murad is still in that top lane, and the first to go down may just be Naga. Batman and the next one, Killer Guy as well. Murad definitely putting in a lot of work right now, pushing all members of Potatoes out of the lane, out of this dragon, and securing 3 early kills for themselves, and immediately turning their attention back to the Abyssal Dragon.
I was a little bit worried there because Nephew Rio, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, the Slims had punish still, but I guess he was still a little bit far from the Abyssal Dragon, so I guess no steals are gonna happen there. But again, this is what we've mentioned about the 4v5 potential situation, but because Potatoes has seen that coming, you saw Ormar really walked his way down towards the Abyssal Dragon, and he managed to make it a 5v5 instead. But that cannot happen all the time. There are times where Kisei can just immediately fly towards the location of where he is needed. So it's just another, fight that we are going to be looking forward to in the next objectives to come.
Yep, so that is one thing that we can look forward to, and earlier on I actually mistook Kisei on that Zenio as Murad. For some odd reason, when that was happening, when the team fight was happening, I just looked up onto the minimap and I thought I saw Murad in the top lane, but obviously not, because Zenio is just holding the top lane alone and doing very well for himself. Let's all just, get that, and Murad actually goes in, not quite picking out anyone just yet, maybe trying to poke the Illumia out of the lane since there's all 3 in this mid lane, and they're just trying to put a lot of pressure down in this mid. I mean, after all, they have what it takes. They have got the gold lead firstly, and they had the Abyssal Dragon, which means it would translate into an experience all level lead for them. Naga Batman in a very dangerous position, will be able to use the A 3 times to get out of there. A stun coming through, not quite eating, and the Vision Bird will be taken.
Yeah, I love the technique here from Murad. I mean, that's what you do. You put in stacks to activate your ultimate, and then run back to the mid lane. Just try to scare off away Disarray. But it looks like they're gonna be trying to do something here, but they'll back away for now. But that's the thing, you have that wolf camp there at this point. You stack up your ultimate and then try to make a pick, and if it doesn't work, go back, stack it back to 4, because at this point, Murad's ultimate is just in a very, very low cooldown, especially when it comes to late game as well. It's just going to be shorter and shorter, and knowing that Disarray is quite a low mobility hero, Murad can just keep doing this and doing this, keep adding into the pressure. When Momokun on the Raz also reach his own item spikes as well, he might even opt for a dive play. He does have the flicker, he could use it offensively so that he could get a knockoff, get that combo in, get a pick, make it a 4v5, but Abyssal Dragon is actually getting started.
Yep, Abyssal Dragon getting started by the side of Zero Killers. Can Potatoes actually bring something in to secure the Abyssal Dragon for themselves? All 3 members coming down. Abyssal Dragon gets taken by the Killer Guy. And on top of that, so much ultimate coming through as well. A full-blown team fight will be happening. Killer Guy very, very low. Lin is able to pick up 1, and now Crash just putting in so much work with this Metamorphosis and just continuing looking for more, going into the mid lane. Zephyride in a very dangerous position against this Oma with that spin to win. Can Murad actually come out on top? Very, very low. One more basic attack, and there you go. Murad going down, as well as the mid-tier turret.
Oh man, Murad didn't have punish there on that Abyssal Dragon take, so I guess that's the reason why it got stolen by the Thane though. So that's pretty interesting. But going back to what happened there, it was them already committing so much to the Abyssal Dragon. All Potatoes had to do was just try to take advantage of that. They got the steal, they got a lot of kills as well. A lot of the key targets already down. Only Murad was left in the fight. He doesn't have much sustain whatsoever, and he's not like an Irie that could immediately stun you or get a shield from the ult, so it doesn't work that way. Murad, for me, sort of falls off in terms of that burst damage as the game progresses. It's definitely not some sort of Irie with he has a better survivability, but in any case, that was a well played engage coming from Potatoes. They were patient, and they were definitely rewarded.
Yeah, patient and thus able to soften this gold lead, able to pick up one turret for themselves as well. But Tortoise on that Lindis will be able to pick up another turret, or rather, another turret for the side of Serial Killers. Basically bring up that gold lead once again. Naga Batman in a very dangerous position. Momokun will be going in as well. Murad relentless with that chase, basic attack, stacking out that ultimate. Nephew Rio going very low, but Kyo going to spin to win. Let it rip. Let's see if Kyo can actually pick up one, and there you go. Sick right on that. Murad will be going down.
That is a very, very aggressive play, but knowing the fact that there are a lot of members on the opposite side of the map, they knew what they had to do. They can just immediately jump on another member from Potatoes, and there's a lot of pressure all over the map now, knowing that, you know, they managed to pick, means that they get to be in the Abyssal Dragon area first. They get control, they get the vision, they get the traps in using the Lindis, and let's see how they're gonna play this, because top side turret and bottom side as well not taken, so a lot of map pressure already going around in favor of Serial Killers.
Yeah, but there's one thing that, you know, we have to be, I have to be sure at least. It's because Serial Killer, when they went in for the second Abyssal Dragon, they obviously do not have the advantage whatsoever, and yet Raz was the one doing the tanking. So that is one thing that it's kind of questionable for me in terms of that play. But now Naga Batman starting up this Abyssal Dragon. Let's see if a steal will be coming through from that. If not, then a full-blown team fight, 4v3 at this point. Killer Guy goes in. Ultimate from Illumia as well. Metamorphosis coming through. Abyssal Dragon very low, and Nephew Rio will be able to secure the Abyssal Dragon from Potatoes, and that will be the end of the team fight, and the double kill going over to that wimp turned octopus thing.
Exactly, and time again though, even though Potatoes manages to get the Abyssal Dragon steal, it's always Serial Killers coming up on top on the team fights. And for me, honestly speaking, I'd rather see the Lubu on the top side of the map doing the split push rather than the Ormar, because I believe during team fights they would really benefit so well with the CCs and the kit, the utility that, you know, Kyo could provide to a team fight, a potential team fight, and Lubu can immediately, if ever they do lose that 4v5 at the bottom lane, then at least they could push faster with the Lubu, and I feel like that's okay. There's a fight.
Yep, there is a fight. Ultimate, all of it coming out. Kyo going in, able to pick up a double kill for himself, just basically spinning and spinning and spinning. Nephew Rio will be picked up by that of Lindis, and now the side of Serial Killers will have a slight advantage in terms of man. Zinio able to pick up the Killer Guy and Batman in a very dangerous position. Last man standing, disarray on this Illumia, able to just use her B to shun everyone away. But in that particular team fight, we saw something that's really interesting. Definitely Omar, which I have to agree with you, is just putting in so much work in those team fights, just able to just spin, use his ultimate. On top of that as well, his kit has just got so much CC, although sometimes the CC, they are not expected whatsoever, especially on those basic attacks. But even then, you know, when those unexpected CCs, the stars knockout comes through, those are very, very important when it comes to a team fight.
Exactly, and I believe, you know, in this matchup, I really thought that Serial Killers would have lost it, but then with the metamorphosis coming from PDAC, that was really well played. Daniel, you know, it's fine if he didn't manage to kill anybody at that point, but at this part already, they're already at the numbers advantage. A lot of them wanted to disengage already, and the fight has been lost. Not particularly a fan of the Illumia pick, but at it again.
Yep, and then again, another metamorphosis coming through. Very well placed. What a blood vial coming for Lindis, and now Tortoise on the run. Naga Batman on the chase, but Crash is just putting in so much work, able to take up so much, able to pick up one kill, and Killer Guy himself not doing all too shabby, giving away, or rather taking all the kills away from his teammates.
Wow, they're all so clumped up in that really congested area, and then those fights, if they're all clumped up together, that's perfect for the AoE of the Illumia, that's perfect for the AoE of Athane, and Ormar as well. So if all of those combine, then that's really something that, you know, Serial Killers should what do you call this, to be scared of on the side of Potato's composition, and it's their damage is starting to ramp up already, and I believe they really love fighting in that area. But at this point, as the game progresses, Dark Slayer is going to be a threat, so most likely if the game prolongs and more objectives are being taken away by serial killers rather, then that's something that they should take keep an eye on, that top side map where the Dark Slayer is.
Yep, but you know, although Illumia is putting a lot of work coming into these team fights, but we have to take a look at Murad as well. 1v1 wise, Murad definitely comes out on top, but now talking about Murad, he actually goes in, gets very low, but able to just come out, get out of there, and the one kill will be going over to the side of Serial Killer. Another kill picked up by Pinnock on that crash, and this time round not in a tight corner, so Serial Killers will be coming out on top, and they'll immediately turn their attention down to Dark Slayer.
Oh my! Potatoes had a good idea. The Thane had a good idea there. He wanted to get a good Valiant charge onto maybe 5 people, CC them, chain them, and the unfortunate thing is that Serial Killers was already onto him, and they immediately turned the tables and just focused him down. It was a 4v5 instantly, and now Dark Slayer's on their side, and now they're doing the sieging. So high ground tower might be actually destroyed already, but we'll see how Potatoes defends this one.
Yep, I don't know. I mean, the side of Serial Killers really have to go in for the siege anyway, so this will mean it's a good team fight potential for the side of Potatoes, since they really need the side of Serial Killers to just clump up anyways. But there's one thing that's actually bugging me. Not bugging me, that I've been wanting to say, but I haven't quite found a chance, so I'll just sneak in this chance right now, and that is the logo for Potatoes. I really want them to go through these, because I want to see more of that. You just look at it! Okay.
It's like a terrified potato. It's
It
so
looks more like a
cute.
pickle to me, but...
Actually, you're right.
Right?
It's
Right.
a Food Wars. It's the Food Wars series.
Yep, so very clever for the side of the organizers to actually think this up, but another team fight will be happening. That's top lane. Raz overextending just a little, and Kyo able to pick up that of Momokun. So numbers advantage going over to the side of Potatoes. Can they turn them into chips? That is the question that Serial Killers have to ask themselves.
Man, Luxury, you're making me hungry. Alright, going back to the game, I believe, yeah, that was definitely a setback for the Raz. Just wanting just to poke them out and take advantage of the Dark Slayer buff, but it's now expired, and they have to wait for Raz before for them to be aggressive and try to start sieging again. But because of the waves clear coming from the side of Potatoes, it's really quite tricky, but they still do have the Murad to try and land a maybe 4 or 3 man ult just to chip them down to HP, to a very low amount of HP, and send them back to base, and then they can proceed back to the sieging. But at this point, it's really difficult. The gold lead is quite significant already on the side of Serial Killers, and they do have a really good comp in terms of poking as well, especially with the Raz. And the Murad, he just ults in, goes back out, just chips you down, and then try to stack it on towards the jungle camps, and then go back potentially, and just rinse and repeat. But they're aiming for this high ground bottom lane tower at this point, while Murad is split pushing. We'll see what they're gonna do.
Ooh, Murad in a very dangerous position. Kyo may be on the chase, but Siegfried will be able to get away while they actually are pushing down this bot lane. The catalyticism from the side of Illumia, not the side of Illumia, is being used, but no great effect whatsoever. But Kyo will be able to pick up, or rather that was Slims picking up the kill. I really saw that as a TES. I thought it was Kyo that would be able to pick up the kill, but Slims just came in, bam bam, basic attacks for the win, able to pick up the kill for himself. And the set of Serial Killer, they are starting to lose their mode, right? They are starting to just go in one at a time, allowing that of Potatoes to turn them into chips. So they have to rethink their strategy coming back into this game, because further as long as the game goes, then everyone the gold lead would no longer be significant anymore because everyone would have a certain number of items and they can put down that damage because another ultimate, another catalyticism, and a metamorphosis coming out from that of Crash. And now Naga Batman in the 1v3. Will Naga Batman be able to come out on top and survive? And that is a clear no. TES is able to pick up Naga Batman. And now that's 1 kill to 1 kill, I think. Yeah, that is 1 kill to 1 kill. They will be going back into the stagnant shell. So what do you think, Riku, that they should actually do?
Earlier, I feel like they could have. I mean, split pushing is also a very good strategy. But once the waves are already shoved at the top side, then perhaps maybe Murad could go to rejoin forces and maybe do his thingy-maroo with the Murad where he just tries to chip them down or try to land with a poke with a Raz. At least when they start a fight, they know that they're already ahead in terms of items and damage, so at least they're forced to fight because they're forced to defend, and at least you guys are a group of 5 already once that fight happens. So at least for now, if they want to play it more safe, they do have a good idea already. Maybe wait for Dark Slayer just to get that additional buff, additional advantage. Try not to 1v1 anybody because it's really difficult. You could get ulted by an Illumia, even though Illumia is somewhere around the map. They do want to take advantage of their lead from earlier by trying to split push, but I feel like they could play a lot safer, but we'll see. Dark Slayer 30 seconds on the clock, but Ormar's in the middle of it all.
Ooh, Omar being in the middle does not quite help the side of Potato. Sigfry goes and picked up Omar, and now Metamorphosis, that little whip kid that you were pulling in school, will be going in, trying to break down this wall that Potatoes is putting up. I mean, it's a very good fight that Potato is putting up, but with the waves all pushing in and numbers down, it's really, really difficult to continue on this fight on defense per se. TES going in, maybe trying to pick up someone because TES, I don't think you should be in that position. But now looking at the bot lane, Killer Guy in the very dangerous one. Peanut will be caught in Catalyticism, but will be able to back off.
Ormar 10 seconds on the clock before he comes back online, and I believe Serial Killers realizes, one of their win conditions here. They really want to close the game as fast as they can, immediately going for the Dark Slayer because, Potatoes is forced to defend their base because lanes are shoved in favor of Serial Killers, and at this point, they're buffed, everybody's online. Heal is going to be right back up for Pinak here on the Crest, and it's really important for Potatoes to really try to defend. This is gonna potentially be their last head. No high ground towers existing anymore in their base, so we'll see what they're gonna do to defend this one.
Well, nothing whatsoever but their lives at stake, and then of course the core as well. Let's see if the side of Potatoes will be able to come up on top of this first game of football. Catalyticism getting used. Pina goes in with Metamorphosis as well, and now just so much ultimate, so much is happening on the map, and now finally the ultimate from Disarray coming through. Pina very, very low. Kyo still on the chase, and will I apologize for that. Omar be able to pick up something, and no, Slims will be the first to go down, fighting 1v4, 2v4, and Momokun coming out on top of that, and 4 members down on the side of Potato. Serial Killer will be going in, will be pushing the call down, and there is nothing whatsoever that Disarray can do but die.
Congratulations to Serial Killers for winning game number 1 in this best of 3 series against Potato. That was actually a very interesting match. Quite slightly back and forth. There were times that I thought Potatoes could get back into the game, but I guess, the lead of Serial Killers is already too immense for them to get back into the game.
Yep, and that is one thing that, Potato could have done better, and that would be the early game. They basically placed the hero in suboptimal positions, right? Where 2 on top, where it's at the Dark Slayer lane. They've learned from the previous lesson, especially for that of Potatoes, because draft is ready. So let's just head on into draft.
Let's see. So Crush is actually being taken off the field. Well, Serial Killers, maybe a Superman ban. If it's not gonna be a Superman ban, could be a Zephys ban. There's a lot of focus on the micro heavy heroes like Murad, Nakroth, probably Zephys. So it is going to be a Zephys ban. Superman is open. Malik is open. Senial is open. What is your priority? It's going to be the Mirror instead. Alright, they have, you know, they just want to take it away from Serial Killer.
Yep, and in the previous game, Serial Killer actually banned out that of Joker, and this game, they're able to pick up Joker for themselves, so they probably have hidden talent behind this Joker pickup, and we saw incredible players from Clash P in the previous week. Because Joker, he was just so very good on the Joker, if I remember correctly. I probably remember correctly, because I'm reading off my notes, so I cannot quite forget that. So Malik and Thane getting picked up by the side of Potatoes. I'm sure you'll not be like their team logo right now. You'll not be screaming because Malik getting picked up.
Yeah, Malik getting picked off here, but I kind of wonder who's their roamer. But looks like Lumber and Senial is the correct rotation in terms of their pick at this point. Meanwhile, we're still wondering if they're going to opt for an ADC. I mean, Kilgroth is still one of the popular picks that we've been seeing in their meta, but they're opting for a marksman composition with their support, this array with the Alice and the Violet. I'm liking this. I am liking this a lot. For the last pick, I kind of wonder what they're going to lock in, as well as maybe they could opt for a mage, or perhaps they can opt for another tank, because actually I wonder, yeah, for another tank. So Arthur is their pick.
Yeah, I for the life of me, I cannot figure out why it's that you know, Superman is being let through draft. Is it because the players are not very good at that particular hero, or it is just that they do not see, you know, the hero actually working in the team comp? Because looking at both draft, right? So on the side of Serial Killers or Potatoes, Batman actually fits not Batman, but Superman actually fits very, very well in terms of turret diving into the back lines, etc. Superman does a decent job, or in fact a very, very good job at that.
Exactly, and at this point, it's just mainly a Joker versus Violet here in the mid lane, and I'm really expecting Violet to spike up. Both of these teams have really good scaling at this point, but Joker is super duper painful when it comes to his poke. So sieging wise, I have to hand it to this side of Joker later as well. But Cricknack, once he reaches level 4, just expect and just be wary when he visits your lane, because the death squad coming from the side of Serial Killers, I could imagine this. Look at that. It's going to be, oh no.
There you go. Lumber and Siegfried are actually going in, picking off, and this is the Petrol score that you were mentioning about earlier on, and it's working very well. Like I mentioned, you know, Lumber just has got very, very good CC in that early game. Lumber don't do very well sitting in the lane, as well as Cricknack as well. So I'm glad the side of Serial Killer will be playing to, you know, basically their team comp's potential. Nephew Rio in a very dangerous position, but will be able to back off, as with Siegfried on that Cricknack as well.
Yeah, Mirrored is a very difficult, for me, a difficult hero to use, because again, for you to use your ultimate, you're very heavily reliant on stacks and timing as well. And for Cricknack, it's very straightforward. You reach level 4, okay, let's go, no matter where you are. Mirrored has certain conditions for him to work, but at the same time, in terms of safetiness, in terms of his kit and survivability, I suppose you have to hand it to Mirrored's kit. But just as you mentioned, just as we witnessed, rather, the Death Squad, Lumber, Cricknack, and Joker is just going to be very explosive. And the same as well, if Potatoes is actively using that Mirrored, Alice, and Violet, it's just going to be as painful if they manage to take advantage of that. But so far, it's just very passive on their side and very safe, but mainly because I think they're really respecting the Cricknack's reliable damage. But Sentinel is actually being taken away at this point, Serial Killers. But Abyssal Dragon is open as well, so Potatoes is just wondering, where is everybody from Serial Killers?
Yep, they are, but we cannot forget, although the side of Potatoes have got damage, but we cannot forget Shattered Earth coming out from that of Lumber, right? So Shattered Earth basically reduces the damage output of the enemies, and on top of that as well, protect. I think if I okay, you know what? Let me just check. Okay, so it's protect, the passive of lumber that grants nearby allies that one of the lowest defense, extra defense on top of whatever they have. So that is one thing that's very important in when it comes to team fight. Ultimate from Alice coming through. Abyssal Dragon getting started by the side of Potatoes. Ultimate coming out. And what basically is happening? Abyssal Dragon is still left untouched, but Naga Batman, that Violet in a very dangerous position. Rio able to pick up that off the Abyssal Dragon for the side of Potatoes, but it's obvious Serial Killer is coming out on top of this fight. Nefi Rio running back into the tower. Quickneck may be looking for something, but will be backing off.
It was a 4v5 situation. Thane was at the top side of the map, and Abyssal Dragon still getting taken by Potatoes. This is like their real specialty. It's like they even if they lose the team fights, okay, we get the Abyssal Dragon instead. But I was actually surprised to see the Thane on the top side of the map instead of the Malak at the top. And normally you would really want the Thane as well, but then again, I guess it still works because Potatoes has secured their Abyssal Dragon for their side. But Gold Lead is still on Serial Killers, and they're actively using their their roaming potential, and they've been very successful with it. It's just that they have to really secure the Abyssal Dragon takes, especially if they're the ones that started it in the first place.
Yep, definitely. The start of Serial Killers, I think one of the bad things Serial Killer has is maybe like my friend. So I've got this friend. He plays a very, very good jungle Violet, okay? But even if his life is reliant on it, he can never smite. I've got no idea why he always smite late. If not, the smite is never up, or he'll smite too early, and then the enemies get abused. But he is a very good fighter. He just cannot smite, even if his life was reliant on it. But anyways, maybe that is one of the banes of Serial Killers, and thus giving away all the Abyssal Dragon thus far. But Potatoes, they are not looking all too shabby for themselves. They only gave away 2 kills to the side of Serial Killers. They are holding a lane pretty well, although still playing really, really passively, just allowing that of Violet to scale into the late game. And on top of that as well, just allowing Murad. Oh, Murad goes in with the ultimate once again, just to poke out that out Tortoise with. I cannot remember that ability for the life of me, but now Rio in a very dangerous position. May not be able to get away because is over there, and there you go, Murad able to get away. Ultimate being used left and right, especially by Alice and that of Malak, and now Kyo stuck in a 4-man barrage of damage killer guy as well. Let's see if anybody will come out on top, or they will just leave this to be, and that is not the case. Malak jumped in a little too deep and will be taken out, and another kill goes to the side of Serial Killer, and they'll turn their attention once again to Abyssal Dragon.
One thing I noticed, every time Potatoes doesn't engage, there's really no significant threat. On towards the Joker, Violet might get taken out here with the knockup.
Yep. Oh, okay. So the Joker's skill, I kept remembering it as the Joke because of his name, right? The hero's name. But it's actually the Killing Joke. There you go. Yeah, the Killing Joke. There you go. So it's not the Joke, it is the Killing Joke. And Kyo coming back, trying to salvage the tower, but it's just not the case whatsoever. Kise and that of Quickneck will be able to take this tower down very, very easily without any contest.
Yeah, going back to what happened earlier is that there's no threats at all for Joker, and normally the number one threat for Joker is either a shock coming from the Malak on the back line, or the good setup, either the Thane with a charge just CCing you down, or perhaps the Murad just entering the temporal turbulence and maybe halving your HP and relying on either Violet to just finish you off. But here we go, we might see it happening, but he's gonna be safe. He's gonna be a-okay.
Yep, the Killing Joke once again. I have to keep saying that right now because I need to etch it into my memory. Killing Joke, Killing Joke, Killing Joke, Killing Joke, Killing Joke. Okay, I got it. It's Killing Joke. But now the Control Squad actually coming in, trying to gank that of Naga Batman, but fail. But they will just be able to just head on to another objectives like that at the bottom because Quickneck going in from the back onto Malak, and Malak may be in a very dangerous position unless the hissy fit comes through. If not, then the friendship Siegfried will be getting away, running away, and that's it for the bot lane. So 2 gangs coming through from the side of Serial Killers, both unsuccessful at all.
Exactly, and 2 seconds on the clock, then Abyssal Dragon's gonna be back online. Serial Killers have been dictating the pace of the game since the first minute of this match, and it's very, very difficult for Potatoes to get back or try to retaliate because they're quite behind in gold, and they're not really the type of team that tries to make things happen. It's more like if they make a mistake, then we'll do our best to punish. But at this point, Murad is very low, probably already used the ult already, and actually not, it's back online, but Abyssal Dragon already being taken down, and that's 2 for their side. Jungle control for this Might buff already for Serial Killers. We'll see what they're gonna do here.
Yep, I don't think the side of Potatoes can do much, especially not contest this Might Golem. Just give it away to the side of Serial Killer. But with this Might Golem taken, it basically just says something really, really loud, and it's that the roaming potential coming out in the early game for Serial Killers is just massive, and the side of Potatoes is just having a very, very difficult time to address this whatsoever, especially if you have a Murad. One thing good about having Assassin in your team is basically to traverse around the map and pick up kills here and there. However, Rio is playing for the late game as well, which is not a good thing for Murad whatsoever because of how badly his damage scales in terms of as the longer the game goes by. So that is one thing. Maybe the side of Potatoes looked past and did not consider that when they actually try to let Murad, or rather try to let Violet scale into that late game.
Exactly. Yep. Looks like no one's gonna spot the Cricknack, just going back to base. And at this point, I'm actually very, very impressed that we're already at the 11-minute mark. There's just 3 kills on the board. All of them are in Serial Killer side. But looks like they're just opting, or more like aiming, to get this top lane out of the way. The first tier turret out of the way, just so that they could get more Darkslayer control, which is very understandable as we are heading on over to the later phases of the game when they reach their max levels. But mid lane, let's see some action.
Yep, looking at the mid lane itself, we are seeing Malak actually going in with the ultimate, not quite hitting anyone. Hissifit, Peanut stuck in it, but it's just a poke war from, Serial Killer and Potatoes. From foot wars into a poke war, this is what they do best. They have an Alice for the side of Potatoes, and Abyssal Dragon will get started by the side of Serial Killer. Can they smite? And there you go, a smite came through, and they secured the Abyssal Dragon for themselves. And now Peanut in a very dangerous position. Lumber, I don't think you need to be there. And Lumber goes down first, courtesy of Malak, and now they have the man advantage. Malak picking up a double kill for himself, and now the next to go down would be the entire team of Serial Killer. Maybe not so just yet, because Cricknack, and Malak. Oh, there goes the MVP. I mean, Malak just able to survive and soak up so much damage in the particular team fight. Maybe they shouldn't have played around that Violet. Maybe they should just played around Q on that Malak.
Yeah, it all started here at the mid lane, and then they started the Abyssal Dragon. But I believe Nephew Rio with the Murad, I think he did like 3 ultimates on the Murad, maybe use that Vision Eagle there just so that he could stack it right up, or no one was actually paying attention to the Murad. That's why he was able to get a lot of damage in. And that was actually very Naga Batman had really good positioning. He was able to land and kite as much as he can and survive. Really well placed Hizzy Fit as well. A lot of people are clumped up together, and Cricknack was the only one alive at that point. And if you have Malak on the other side of the team, a lot of sustainability, a lot of shields as well, so they definitely win that one.
Yeah, but we saw from this replay that Cricknack, before that, a team fight will be breaking out in this top lane. Serial Killers will be going down. Kyo is just putting out so much damage. Momokun will just be the next target, and although Kyo is at a quarter health, but he's not afraid whatsoever. Kise will be the next target. Can they actually take down Kise? And that will be an easy job. Murat tries to go in with the ultimate, not quite securing the ace for the team, and now we have Quick Tag in the bottom lane actually pushing into the high ground tower.
This is definitely a win for serial killers because that is a life or a couple of lives in exchange of one a turret, a high ground tower as well, and he even gets to live and get away with it and is not punished at all. But as a consolation, Violet managed to get damage, or rather take down that second tier turret in the mid lane. So that is something also worth mentioning.
Yep, so earlier on I wanted to say, what was it that I actually wanted to say? I actually forgot what I was to say. I should have jotted that down because of the team fight. I mean, the moment the camera went over there, everyone was so low, I had to break into that. There was no way I could have just, you know, ignore all of that. And you can see from the team fight itself, it's just a lot of bad positioning and of course the number advantage for the side of Potatoes.
Exactly. Killer Guy on the thing just did a lot of work, but hold on top. Looks like they're doing something here at the Dark Slayer actually being taken by serial killers with the Kriknak leading the charge, but that is the Malak already down.
Yep, so Malak really is the biggest threat from the side of Potatoes because he can just soak up so much damage, and on top of that as well, if you are going to play around him, then, or rather, if serial killers have to play around him, means they will have a very difficult time going after the backlines, which is like Violet or even Alice, because Alice's Hissy Fit is definitely putting out a lot of zone potential for the side of Potatoes. Exactly,
but now that Dark Slayer is already in serial killer's hands, but they might get a pick off onto Killer Guy, which is he's fine with the friendship, and a Hissy Fit as well. Proto is super duper low, he's forced to back away instead.
Yep, the Joker will be leaving behind a joke before leaving, before actually bugging away. But one thing's for sure, in this particular team fight itself, Murat can easily actually go into the back lines and ignore whatever front lines there may be. But the only thing they are afraid of course, is that, you know, in every team fight when you actually go in, you have to do basically micromanagement, right? To be able to protect the back lines and as well as be able to dive the enemy front lines. But I personally think Peanut does a very good job because of his passive. He'll be giving extra shield and armor to Joker, so that is not one thing the Joker should be afraid of, or rather Peanut can just constantly stay without Joker alongside Kriknak, can just go in to the backlines, pick up that of Violet or Disarray on the Alice, and it will be an easy close for them. Kyo, or rather Momokun can just hold Kyo out for a short period of time once they're done with the main damage dealers, and then turn their attention back to this Malak. But half the time what we're seeing Potatoes do is actually send the Malak into the backlines, take out whatever the threat is in the backline, like Joker, like Kriknak, or leave Kriknak be, and then it's an easier game for them because then they will be lacking all kinds of damage.
Exactly, and serial killers just have to be very patient, just try to poke him down and not try to be aggressive. Denied by the hissy fit of the Alice. So this is the correct play. Try to shove the lanes, not try to get caught out, and once the lanes are all shoved, then try to focus down one lane, try to land the poke, and then when they're all low, there's the Murad landing in the hurt, they're going in.
Yep, they might not. Oh, Malak actually goes in with an ultimate, knocking Tortoise up. Tortoise is in a very dangerous position, will be able to back away with a killing joke as well. And now Momokun caught in the midst of this damage barrage. Hissy Fit, all the members of Serial Killers actually standing in the Hissy Fit. Friendship comes through. Save Friday in a very dangerous position. Violet will be going after this quick tag. And my screen basically paused, but the last member standing would be that of Zenio, and I don't think, maybe Kisei can survive this. Let's see if Kisei can actually make the run for this with all 4 members still alive on the side of Potatoes. Killer Guy, Kyo, just waiting for the ability to come back online, and there you go, Kisei getting caught out, and this may just be the end for the Zenio, and that is a team-wide clear for the side of Potatoes.
My oh my, look at this comeback from Potatoes. I mean, it was the correct play for them to punish, but at the same time, looking at serial killers, they weren't supposed to go in. They were not supposed to put all their ultimates and commit to that, because they're just sacrificing a lot of positioning there. You don't have the Arthur. You don't have the Seniel to protect the Joker. He's so low at this point. Therefore, he's gonna be very, very careful of his positioning, and that means he can't be as aggressive as a full health HP Joker. And that is how it all just crumbled down for the side of serial killers, and they took advantage of that. Again, we did mention that the punish place potential, because of their kit, they have the shock, they have the hissy fit from the Alice and the Malak, and they definitely took advantage of those kits, and they punished so well that at this point it's just another deja vu type of thing, where in game number 1 we see that serial killers is having a difficult time finishing the game off.
Yep, they constantly have a bad time, because we saw in the earlier part, even before the fight actually broke out, instead Tortoise got really, really low by the poke coming out from the side of Potato. So maybe the Joker really had to watch his positioning from now on and not being so reckless and haphazard. I mean, at this point in time, if they pick out Potato, if they pick out Tortoise, and then afterwards into Peanut, because Lumber is constantly protecting that of Tortoise or that of Joker, which is not wrong whatsoever. I mean, you have to give him the shield and the extra armor after all. But if you constantly do that and then the enemies catch you guys out, then it will be a very big GG for your team, because your enemies can easily capitalize on that small positioning mistake, and then after which you are pretty much done for.
Exactly. They do have the opportunity, or rather, they do have the correct heroes to do so. But right now, I suppose they're just waiting it out. Again, 15 seconds on the clock till Darkslayer comes back online. And one thing, again, they could just try to poke it out, try to push them away, try to force them back to the base, get them really, really low, and that's their time. They could try to siege it out and get the high ground towers. But Darkslayer, they're just getting into position at this point, and one thing that could turn the tides of battle is either the pick potential when they're hitting the brush like this.
Oh, party brush, and you see Quick Neck actually tries to go in for Naga Batman on the backline, but it will not be successful whatsoever. By the left and touch, able to pick out Joker, maybe not, and there you go, Naga Batman on the chase. Joker in a very dangerous position, and looking back into the main team fight itself, there's so much damage coming through. Near Fury on the Mura will be first to go down in this team fight, and next will be Quick Neck Killer Guy really going in for the kills once again. Naga Batman left unchecked, able to pick out an onslaught for herself, and Kissei, you had to start kissing some potatoes in order to save your life. You may be able to run away, but not for long, and that is the domination coming out from Violet, and this might just be the turnaround.
You saw how bursty the Violet was, and the problem was Joker was outside, or rather not with his teammates at all. He was just definitely open for the taking. It was sort of like a 1v1 situation between the Violet and the Joker. This could be the potential comeback of Potatoes in this game. No one's alive except for the Lumber, and they're finishing it right off. Congratulations, it's gonna be a 1-1 for this series.
Yep, good game. Very well played coming through from Potatoes, and there is one thing that's for sure. In the previous game, Serial Killer had a 10k, 11k, 12k gold lead. As for this one, not so much, and yet the Serial Killers were just playing so very haphazardly and just unaware of the situation they're in. I think they thought that they're in a 10k, 15k gold lead, and thus head on straight into draft, and let's see how this game will pan out between Serial Killers and Potatoes. Alice may just be looked to be back.
Alrighty then, so at least earlier we saw, okay, Alice is now getting banned. Zephys is not, is one of the options from earlier, but I guess Fresh is not going to be an option for now, so this leaves Malak, Seniel, Murad maybe could be a priority pick this time, as it has been winning a lot of games, but Zephys, since it's open, let's go, let's take it.
Yep, Zephys getting picked up by Serial Killers and Murad. Not a surprise pick whatsoever. In all three of this game, we've been seeing Murad after Murad after Murad, and Malak. Kill on that Malak is just a monster. I mean, not to diss the hero, but they are. I'm not trying to discriminate monsters, okay? Just don't get me wrong. But Kyo was just a monster on that Malak in the previous game, and Serial Killers will be going back into something they're very comfortable with, and that will be that Lumber and Thane Patrol squad. But on the side of Potatoes, they are rolling in basic comfort right now with that Violet pickup for Naga Batman. I mean, Violet, very slow early game, right? Very slow mid game, but comes into the late game. If you cannot catch her out, she just can burst you down.
Exactly, and at this point, I was just wondering whether they're just gonna go on full dive comp for Serial Killers, or maybe just go back to the Joker. It worked out pretty well during the early to the mid phases of the game, and perhaps try to close it out as fast as we could. But I guess they're falling back to the Lindis, which is quite heavily...
Serial Killers try to end the game as soon as possible. For the side of Potatoes, if you can't play the early game, you can't play the mid game, then hold the game out, and then you may just see yourself another comeback like the previous one.
Exactly, and I'm really interested in this Azenka pick. I mean, lore-wise, Azenka and Murad enemies, but you know what? Let's get back into the game. Azenka is actually a pretty interesting pick here. I rarely see him in the other regions as well, but he's actually very powerful once you try to land his combo. Has very heavy AoE as well, very painful DOTs, good decent wave clear in the mid lane here, but at this point one of those really low mobility mages on their side of Potatoes. So I'm actually very worried because you have a Zephys, you have a Lumber, you have a Seniel. So if ever he just loses all his kit, let him use all his skills, then he's just very, very open. You can just take him out, especially if he doesn't have Flicker on.
Yep. You know, for Azenka, when I first started on AoV, he was a hero that I played because he just looks cool, right? He looks like he's nothing but there's a clock floating around. I was like, hey, pretty cool hero. Let me just try him out. and I played pretty well on him. I remember one match I actually had with him. Able to poke out, obviously, right? I was against the very, very low tiers, but I had background in MOBA, so I kind of had an advantage, quote-unquote an advantage at least for that game. I think I scored myself a 30 kills or 40 kills kind of thing. But anyways, a fight will be breaking out. Momokun in a very dangerous position. Kyo coming in to help. Rio not quite backing just yet, although just so much damage landing on Rio. First Blood will not be given away just yet. But at this point in time, the Sentinel may just be taken. But that would be quite an issue for either team.
I'm actually pretty impressed with Potatoes now taking advantage of their level 4 spikes, try to find a pick. It was almost right there, but Serial Killers definitely knew what was going on. Zephys also reached the level 4 at the same time when that happened. So everybody had the same mindset and had the same area to attack, so it was all Gucci for both sides, but no first blood whatsoever. Abyssal Dragon definitely something that they could try to prioritize, but I'm loving the Lindis pick on their side because it really just matches Serial Killer's playstyle with their early game rotations. They could just constantly roam, but this is very scary for PNAC. Might bump into 2 people.
Yep, bumping into 2 people, and let's see if he will be able to come out, and that is not an issue whatsoever for him. Let's talk a bit more about Azenka. Like we mentioned earlier on, and a lot of times actually before that, is that he's not seen generally in competitive play because he just do not have consistent damage throughout. Abyssal Dragon getting started out, kill is used as well, and a full-blown team fight will be just coming through. Killer Guy securing Abyssal Dragon once again for his team. Kise picking up the first blood. Naga Batman running behind the turret. Siegfried maybe in a very dangerous position, but the fight will go through and Violet will be taken down. Sorry, that would be Momokun, and Azenka actually able to pick up 1 kill for himself. And this is the Serial Killer that we've been wanting to see, right? I mean, the classic early game play, able to just prioritize on things, and they have the pickups that they want to. But it's just down to able to close, whether or not they are able to close out this game. But Zephys just went a little too deep. There was no reason whatsoever for you to do that.
That is actually the correct play. Try to zone them away and just prioritize the objectives. But one thing, again, this is deja vu. Potatoes gets the Abyssal Dragon again. And at that point, it's just really a very similar situation where, okay, Serial Killers wins the fight, but they lose the Abyssal Dragon, but they try to make up for the loss of the gold that the loss of gold there with a lot of kills and a lot of objectives. Just maybe take a tower instead. But good tower aggro juggling as well on the side of Serial Killers, and that's why they managed to get everybody alive except for the Senyo. But at the same time, Malak was just stuck in lane, and that's one of the things, or one of the strengths rather, of Serial Killer's composition, is that they could immediately turn it into a 4v5, but you suffer. If the wave is not going to be in your favor, you're going to be suffering from losing a tower, so make sure to take advantage of that, which they did, but I felt like it could have gone so much better if they got the Abyssal Dragon as well.
Yep, but I mean, the trade-off is definitely worth it for the side of Potatoes. I mean, able to pick up one Abyssal Dragon and one tower for themselves, and on top of that, having the clear advantage over in that on top lane, whereas the side of Serial Killers only able to take the bottom lane. So, you know, it's a very good chance for Malak to actually roam around, and that is the scary thing. Opening up the top lane means that Malak can roam. However, not taking care after you take down the top lane means that the entirety of Serial Killer can have one up on you if they actually go back in the top lane. Oop, Kyo actually uses the ultimate to try to stop Momokun from taking that top tower, and Abyssal Dragon once again will be started out by Potatoes. And if Potatoes start something out, they'll definitely close it out. So no surprise whatsoever, no steals, nothing coming through from the side of Serial Killers.
Interesting shift of priorities, but looks like mid lane is has a fight at this moment in Malak, and Murad actually suffers from that. But going back, they had shifted priorities. They decided to go topside instead, just giving up the Abyssal Dragon take. That's going to be 2 on Potato's side instead. But a lot of pressure at the top side of the map, and now Batman is forced to defend mid lane, but we'll see if there's going to be a guidance right here.
Ooh, Zadil goes in as well as Malak as well. Zeph is in a very dangerous position, will be forced to back off, and that may just be that of this team fight. So pretty anti-climatic if you were to ask me. It is just a lot of diving in and then escaping out. Which is what Zephyrs do half the time anyway, so
yeah.
I don't blame the heroes. I do not blame the players, I blame the heroes kid.
And at this point though, I think they have a really good idea to take down turrets, but at the same time, if you just keep giving up all these Abyssal Dragon takes, it's just going to start piling up, and that would mean Potatoes would reach their spike so much faster, and it's just going to be very explosive. Disarray, again, has a lot of zoning potential, and that's going to help, you know, the Violet get into a better position and try to land in the hurt. Again, Lindis was one of those short-range marksmen, and Zephys is just going to be reliant on the dive as well. So if the Zephys dives and you land the Azenka, okay, hold on, there's a plan.
Yep, a fight will be coming out, a ton of combo coming through from Azenka, but the damage is just not enough whatsoever. Yeah, true, you're able to poke them down, you're able to set them in stone, but it is only damage that's enough to, you know, just dissuade them to progress further towards you. But it's just not enough whatsoever to stop them from actually taking Abyssal Dragon, which will be started by Serial Killer. It will be a funny one if the side of Potatoes would be able to secure it. Losing a fight is not an issue whatsoever as long as they get the Abyssal Dragon. Rio goes down, they go down next, and there you go, Taunt is able to pick up Rio, and now it's just down to 3 players going up against all 5 members of Serial Killers. Kyo goes in on them, Malak will be melted, but he will be able to melt away successfully. But this mid lane, however, I don't see good things happening to it.
Yeah, I mean, Serial Killers even has double punish on their composition. But still, Potatoes reign supreme here on the Abyssal Dragon take. But I guess they're the type of team that really wants to prioritize winning the fight at this point. As you can see, Rio really landing the hurt towards the Abyssal Dragon take. That's why they won that. great Valiant charge just to scare away Rio, but at this point it was Lindis landing all the last shots here, and they were able to scare them away. And we'll see though, top side actually getting pressured at this point. Lumber doing the split push as well. Going back to what I've been saying is that Azenka's kit is really great for zoning, really going to benefit the Violet later on. I do imagine that the mindset there is that the Zephys and Senya will try to, dive towards the back line of Potatoes, but you will land the AoV ultimate coming from the side of Disarray, and then that would just practically deny either the Lindis or the Thane or the rest of the members from Serial Killers to try and do a follow-up, just try to burst down the Zephys as fast as you can, and I feel like that's one of the mindsets when they've locked in this composition for their side when they do these 5v5 team fights, especially it's going to be very, very frequent as the game goes by.
Yep, I have to agree with you, but at this point, for the first time in a very long while, we are seeing Potatoes and Serial Killer actually holding, or rather for Potatoes at least, holding on to their gold. The gold lead obviously is in, it's in Serial Killer's lead, but another kill another steal coming out. So I guess they just don't really want to start, the Abyssal Dragon anymore. They really just want to just let the enemy start, and you go in for the steal because it is a better cast overall, and you'll hear your name, when you actually successfully steal something away. Yeah. So a team fight may just be breaking out, all for the honor. Kill in the midst of the barrage of damage, and now just so much damage coming through from Pirak on that Thane. Will be able to rush away, but now the side of Potatoes might just want to go in and looking for more. Bloodthirsty they are, but they will be backing up.
Yeah, take note, they were lacking one main damage dealer on their side, which was Zephys, that was split pushing at the top side of the map. I don't think it was the wrong play. I feel like that's correct because you are adding a lot of pressure on the top side. You're confusing Potatoes where they would concentrate, whether they start a fight, which is right now.
Ooh, Keo dangerously low, able to sustain with that amount of barrier, goes in with ultimate and bloodbath for Lindis as she picks up that of Malak. Now, Serial Killers coming on top in that team fight. Let's see if they will actually progress further as the gold lead. I was saying just now, Potatoes able to hold their ground in terms of getting gold and farm across the map. But at this point, it is just not looking very well for the side of Potato.
Yeah, and we've been witnessing how Serial Killers has been dictating the pace of the game time and time again. Look at that steal from Pinak there on the Thane. Very swaggy move there, using the Valiant charges to get away from it all. But at the same time, the positioning of the Lindis is actually very commendable as well. Very, very hard to reach. And a lot of key members are very confused because of the constant rotation and roaming from the rest of the members of Serial Killers, and that's why you saw the Violet moving at the top side of the map when Zephys was split pushing, and that would mean that Serial Killers can just take advantage of that. They lack one source of really painful damage dealer on their side, and that's why they won the fight from earlier.
Yep, they did indeed. But now Kyo will be coming back as well as all five members of Serial Killer. So if at this point in time, usually the 12-minute mark is when we'll see Serial Killer prioritizing a lot on that Dark Slayer after picking up one or two or maybe even Abyssal Dragon, and then after which goes on to pressure the lanes of the side of Potato. So that has been their gameplay thus far. They've just been doing that, rinse and repeat, and let's see if the side of Serial Killer would actually go through with that. Once again, they are priming up for the Dark Slayer in the lane of it. So what do you think would happen? Do you think they'll actually go in for the Dark Slayer and then pressure the lane, or try to secure one or two kills before doing so?
I feel like they have the advantage to take the Dark Slayer because a lot of them are invested on the Senio, and you can potentially just fly away, run away, and they actually made a trade here. Abyssal Dragon take in exchange for Dark Slayer, so potentially they should just really utilize this as much as they can and try to force a fight that they're not prepared for. And top side of the map actually has the wave shoved in favor of Serial Killers. So I assume either they aim for mid or keep pressuring top and get a high ground tower just so that they can take advantage of that.
Ooh.
But we'll have to see.
Yep, split pushing coming through from the side of Serial Killer with 2 members down at the bot lane and 3 pressuring up on top against that of Malak. So they should really prioritize that of the Malak lane, but all 3 members now rotating down into the mid, maybe starting a fight. Murad goes in with that ultimate, but will be easy. It will be an easy getaway for Murad. So at this point, the wave not quite pushing an advantage for the side of Serial Killer. A lot of openings left for the side of Potatoes to actually make plays and chase the side of Serial Killer's wave, because after all, they are broken up. But as I'm saying that, I might just have to take it back, because 2 members able to take down bottom tier turret against that of Asenka and Rio will be going down and overstep in terms of boundaries, and now Lumber comes through with an ultimate and Lin is able to pick up the last hit on it, and the turret is still up. Siegfried taking so much damage, giving away 1 kill over to Naga Batman and another over. Kyo going down to the side, to Tortoise on the side of Serial Killer. So Serial Killer coming out on top in the team fight. Naga Batman can easily do a tactical and then burst 2 shots, try to take out Tortoise, but will be backing off.
Yeah, Dark Slayer buff already maximized, I believe. They won the fight as well. Azenka in and the Violet, only the ones left. Front line for the side of Potatoes, already getting taken down. They got mid turret as well, so job well done. All they have to do is be very patient, but I think a fight is going on here at the mid lane. Murad eliminating the Lumber, and everybody's falling down.
Yep, everybody's falling down except for the Murad that took out the Lumber in the early part of team fight. Killer Guy goes in for the run, will not be able to catch up to Momoko whatsoever. And now, this is classic Serial Killers. They are struggling to end out the game. I mean, they did well so far. They did very, very well for themselves, although they gave a lot of Abyssal Dragons away to the side of Potatoes. But even then, I must say they did really well. I mean, they were able to pick out the pace of the game, able to secure Dark Slayer, able to push down turrets after turrets. To their name, they have 7. And for the side of Potatoes, they only have 1 turret. But Potatoes, they are able to self-sustain in a manner where they can just hold back. They don't need to go for flashy plays. They don't need to go for highlight reels. But they really just want to go in for the core and for the comeback. So let's see if Serial Killers at this point really can close out this game as soon as possible, because at this point we all know that there's just so much damage coming out from Potatoes, and Serial Killers constantly goes in to give the side of Potatoes staggered kills.
Exactly. When it comes to like marksman scaling, I would really prefer the Violet at this point. And as you can see, the gold lead isn't as significant as before when Serial Killers is ahead. So they can really take this game again away from Serial Killers, even though it seems like the blue side has complete control over the game. But again, it's all about them trying to wait for that punish, because it's one of the weaknesses that Serial Killers has in the first place. We'll have to see if they're going to be a little bit more patient in comparison to the other games, where they're just going to try to surgically take away the high ground towers from top to bottom and not try to make any sort of risky plays whatsoever.
Yep, but looking here at a spin push coming out from the side of Serial Killer, Asenka, immense poke as well as with Lindis. And at this point we can only see it's basically what we saw in the first and second match. Serial Killer obviously have got the advantage, but in that top lane, in the top turret itself, Siegfried going very low, as well as Rio will be first to go down in that team fight, and that on next will be Zaphis, or maybe not. Look at Killer Guy going very low by Peanut just putting out so much damage. Naga Batman poking from the backlines, but not quite able to pick up any kills. At this point, Peanut once again goes in with a charge, and in a very dangerous position right now. I don't think Peanut should be there, because Kyo will be going in. Peanut, one more auto attack will be going down. Siegfried coming in from the backline. Disarray, you have to be really, really careful. Zaphis can come in, and the bottom tower will be pushed. The bottom tower will be pushed, as well as the top tower. Sorry, the top tower has already gone down. And this is the thing we were talking about for serial killers.
Yeah, they could just be patient. They already won the fight. They already won the exchange because they got the top high ground tower as well. I mean, they didn't win the fight, but they still got the objective down and they got more map control. This would mean Darkslayer will be back online sooner, and this would be something that would help them close the game out, as you know, they're really having a hard time because the positioning coming from Potatoes is definitely much safer, and they have the advantage as well in terms of damage and a lot of control as well coming from the Azanka. And it was actually pretty interesting how Momo-kun actually just walked towards the core and just landed a few auto attacks, and whoops, looks like there's a fight at the top side of the map.
Yep, whoops it is. Rio has to back off, and that is about as whoops as it gets. You make a good point right now.
Yeah, but looking at the Darkslayer now, it's back online, and I feel like that's the correct play anyways. Better safe than sorry, just gotta get as much as you can off the map, and Zephys doesn't really need to join them anyways. He can just help aid with that take towards shoving down the wave, because this is gonna be the last high ground turret tower already from the Potatoes base. But we'll have to see how they're going to close this out, because again, this could just turn really sour so quickly, the same as game number 2 for Serial Killers.
Yep, but at this point, the wave is definitely in advantage of a serial killer. A fight may just break up. Peanut going front forward, trying to pick something out, trying to pick someone out, but will be able to back off, getting into a more comfortable position. Bottom turret, bottom lane getting pushed as well. So this time, like you mentioned, may just be Potatoes and their god of comebacks coming through, or it will be Killer Guy or Kyo going down. A team fight will be breaking out. All the members of the side of Potatoes coming in, sieging or surging onto Siegfried on the Zephys. Ooh, Catholicism coming. Oh, sorry. Ultimate from Valor coming through, and now Peanut is very front row, and let's see if Peanut can actually pick up anyone or assist Siegfried in picking up anybody. But Siegfried in the midst, or better in the midst of this damage coming through from the side of serial killers, sorry, Potatoes, but it will not matter whatsoever because we are seeing Zephys and Tortoise just poking down the core from the backline. So good game, well played to serial killers.
Definitely. Serial Killers knew that everything was on their side. All they had to do was just land all the hurt, get some sustain. Momo-kun did the correct play and just use the ult just to provide more health towards the targets, and everybody just focus on the core. They did a really good job closing the game.